The Prime Minister has slammed the opposition, saying it's making reckless statements regarding Chinese investment approvals. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kish Latterly.
And good evening, I'm Charisma Robinson.
Now, he again set the record straight in Parliament last evening, stressing that his government has not approved a forestry or agri-fisheries project with the Chinese.
The Prime Minister's comments came in Parliament last evening as he cautioned the Free National Movement against creating hysteria. He also noted that it was the FMM administration which initially engaged in many deals with our friends from the Far East, giving them much more. Clint Watson has more.
It has to be nothing but a childlike innocence to ask me to account for something his government had both hands, head, feet, and involved in.
A strong rebuke to the opposition leader's Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Perry Christie, chastised him with a lesson of diplomacy, cautioning him that his words regarding another sovereign country could come back to haunt him.
When the leader of the opposition decides, Mr. Speaker, not to use Parliament where I could at least respond to him on matters that involve countries that are represented by embassies here. Mr. Speaker, I want to be careful that we don't allow our innocence, our naivety, to cause us to make colossal errors of judgment that you can't roll back.
While opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis wasted no time in responding to claims of his naivety.
Whatever the FNM had done in the past with respect to any foreign investor was brought here and debated, was brought here in a complete transparency. When they spoke even about the BAMA, about the 7,000 workers, that was debated, of which they agreed to. When he spoke about his timber in Abaco, that was brought here. The scientific evidence was presented to show why it was a selective process that was debated and agreed to. So all we're talking about is transparency versus non-transparency.
But the exchange didn't end there. The Prime Minister scrolled through what he called documents by the former administration. When the opposition leader was a cabinet minister, that he alluded paints an entirely different picture when it comes to proposed deals by foreigners. Mr. Christie says his main concern is parliamentarians causing people to draw wrong conclusions about other countries.
And especially, Mr. Speaker, the group who brought the Chinese to the Bahamas. The China Export-Import Bank was brought here under the FNM government. They gave a contract on the road, the Nassau Gateway Road contract, Mr. Speaker. They could have given it to a Bahamian. They gave it to the Chinese company who subcontracted to a Bahamian. They gave a harbor contract to develop a harbor in North Abaco, again to another Chinese company. All of this they did, and then with a straight face, trying to say that I brought the Chinese here, and I did this to the Chinese, as I said before, in the context of trying to minimize how we create this hysteria, to allow you to examine the files that I have, so you can see what I'm talking about, without us having to make it into some ridicule of a nation.
Before taking his seat, the Prime Minister appealed to the leader of the opposition to meet with him one-on-one on important matters like this one, a method he says he used when former Prime Minister Ingram was in office that oftentimes avoided much public embarrassment and national ridicule.
Why don't you, as the leader of the opposition, test the constitutional relationship you should have, Prime Minister to leader of the opposition? That's how it works in this country.
Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.